Hi, Dr. Tracy Tyson. I'm board certified general pediatrician in Vermont, and I want to talk about the transparency in medicine, specifically how are we paid. I did another video talking about how we are paid for vaccinations, but I also want to talk about how we are paid in our jobs on a day-to-day basis. In America, we have a fee-for-service type private healthcare system that is controlled by large corporations. Those corporations, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, United, Cigna, Aetna, and then you have federal plans such as Medicaid. That's different in every state. What that is actually called, TRICARE and Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal, which are for employees of the federal government and active military. How it works in the United States is you as an individual contract with your insurance company. Like in my office, we have Blue Cross and Blue Shield for our employees, and so they get to pick which plan they want based on their affordability, as well as which doctors does it cover, what copay would there be, and whether or not there is a co-insurance or deductible, meaning what they would have to pay before the insurance kicked in. So those are things that are controlled by the companies that provide the insurance. Pediatricians have no control over that whatsoever. What we do have control over is who we contract with, what insurance plans we want to be on their panel, meaning we are allowed to provide care for the patients that they have in their plans, as well as some control over how much we are paid for these services. The smaller pediatricians are going to have less negotiating power than larger groups. Like my group in Vermont is part of a larger physician-owned practice that we have a little bit higher negotiating practice. So in a fee-for-service model where you go see your doctor, you are sick, there is a code of an ear infection. That ear infection has a specific amount that is allowed to be paid by the insurance company, which is usually very minimal, to be honest, especially in pediatrics. If you are charged a copay, that is a contract between your insurance company. That does not come directly to us. We get then that taken off of what the insurance company is paying to us. So that's something that's decided, and that's something that's confusing for families. They think that we as the pediatricians are charging them for the copay, and we are not. Some plans have copays, some don't. No plans in the United States right now have copays for wellness visits, and that's due to the Affordable Care Act. And since that happened, wellness visits have skyrocketed in the United States, which is a really good thing. And that's why pediatricians are fighting to keep the Affordable Care Act in place, or until something much better comes along, which would be fantastic. So how we are paid in Vermont is a little bit different than in some other states, and every state is a little bit different. So in Vermont, we have a high amount of patients, especially children, on Medicaid. The reason for that is that Vermont has decided that children's health care is really important, and we don't want to have a high number of uninsured children. And so the caps for families being able to qualify for Medicaid are a little higher than some other states. Therefore, we do have a very low rate of uninsured. So myself, I work in a practice where I have a very high rate of patients who are on state Medicaid. So in state Medicaid, I am not paid every time your child comes in. I am paid a flat rate every single month to take care of your child and to provide care. The reason for that is because studies show that just paying a pediatrician when the child is sick is actually not helpful to the pediatrician to stay available for after hours, to provide nursing care, to provide care coordination services, lactation services, mental health services, phone calls, portal visits. None of those things are covered. And so it was really hard for pediatricians to provide those services when they just got paid for the ear infection. It also honestly incentivized sick care. So pediatricians used to make more money the sicker your child was, because if you came in more often, that was the only way that we were reimbursed. So this system, which is called capitation, is where my office is paid, and I'll just make up a number because each plan is different, say is paid $30 a month for each life that I take care of a family that has Medicaid. That means that helps me pay my nurses overnight to take 24-hour call. It helps me pay for my electronic medical record. It helps me pay for portal visits. We have 2 mental health counselors in our office at no fee to our families. We have a lactation consultant now available at no fee to our families. And we have nurses that take call during the day to offer medical care the moment families call, and all of those things are able to be provided because we are paid to keep children healthy, not when they are sick. So when RFK Jr. says that doctors are paid for children to be sick, that is not true. There is very, very little systems in the United States that doctors are actually reimbursed higher when children are sick. In a specialty where there's more procedures, yes, they are going to make money per procedure, but in primary care in the United States, there is no situation where that is true. If anything, pediatricians make less today per inflation than they did 30 years ago when there was a true sick model in pediatrics. So another common misconception is associated with, which we already talked about, vaccines, but is associated with our incentives for vaccinations. So there are states, and almost all states, that do have incentives through insurance companies if you have a high rate of vaccinations in your practice. Like we are over 80% in my practice in most vaccinations, 90% in others, meaning that 80 to 90% of our families are fully vaccinated by the age of 2 and the age of 12. The reason that that is incentivized by insurance companies is because they're a business. And so they save money when you are well. So if your child is not in the emergency room all the time, they're not going to urgent care all the time, they're not constantly going to the pediatrician's office because they are well, that saves them money. So while that is all capitalism, it's capitalism for a good reason because we're all on the same page when it comes to that. If I am not incentivized for your child to be sick and they are not incentivized for your child to be sick, it is better for everyone involved the more well your child is. So be really careful when you listen to information. Where exactly is it coming from? Who is saying it? And is it true? And I can emphatically tell you that you will not find a pediatrician in the United States who makes more money by children being sick than children being well. So I hope this helps. We did just see an article that states that 70 to 80% of people still trust their pediatrician over some of these social media sites that are sharing information. What we're trying to do is to put it out there even more so that families can feel even more comfortable getting their information from us. Find someone that you trust, find someone that will let you talk to them and ask them these hard questions. We are here, we want to do it. Those of us who are still in the trenches fighting this every day, we don't want to go back. We don't want to go back to sick children. I don't know what that would look like if I had to walk into the room and know that I was admitting a child for rotavirus again when it's been a completely preventable illness and I'd have to go back to doing that. So we need to band together, and those of us that are willing to put ourselves out there need to keep doing that. So please share videos like this, talk about it, ask questions, and hopefully you find a pediatrician in your life that you trust, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.